Hello YouTube, I am Nerd, and welcome to the Kingdom of Nerd. Hello YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time you've ever been in here, hopefully you like what you see and you've subscribed. Otherwise, welcome back. Clearly you enjoyed the videos, so you're still watching them. This will be the second video in my Civil War II comic books. So, I was over in the White Mountain Comics earlier this week, and I was rummaging through what I was going to read. You already saw that I had picked up The Punisher, and I noticed there was a different cover in the back. I'm like, oh, a variant. Go to the back. There was like three covers of The Punisher. Go to the back to the fourth one, and it's Civil War #0. They thought they sold out. Someone, I'm assuming a customer, threw it behind there hoping to grab it later. I found it, and I bought it, because I'm going to follow this all the way through. Even the little subplots where they have 1 of 4 for Kingpin and 1 of 6 for Spider-Man and X-Men. And so this series on here, the channel, will go on for a while. So I wanted to pick comic books that would go on for a while, so then I always have content coming out at least once, maybe twice a month. Because once they start rolling out the mini-series for, like I said, X-Men and all of them, I'll be able to do 2 or 3 in the month. So, without further ado, I'll show you the cover again. I will be right back, because I'm going to read it, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so I just read the comic, and I was massively mistaken by the Free Comic Day book, because the Free Comic Book Day one, I feel, is a preview to further down the line. It had nothing to do with this comic right here. This comic sets the basis for what is going to start happening. It kind of gives a little bit of background of where they're going to start off in the points of all the other stories and where #1 is going to take off. So, we start with She-Hulk. She is her normal self as a person, and she's normally a lawyer, and she is in a courtroom in New York defending an ex-criminal that the cops are trying to frame. And she goes through her closing arguments, and that's pretty much her whole part in the very beginning. Because then it cuts away to Washington, D.C. No, sorry. Somewhere over the Middle East. War Machine is telling people, or terrorists, or soon-to-be terrorists, to lay their weapons down or he's going to open fire. And if they don't, they'll be marked as terrorists, and so on and so forth. So they put their guns down, and it fast forwards a little bit to him out of his out of his War Machine costume and into his dress blues, and he's talking to the president. And the president mentions that he would like Commander Rhodes to eventually become president because he doesn't want Tony Stark to get the bright idea that he can buy his way into office. So that's where that story is. Then we cut to Captain Marvel, who is in their base. I can't remember. I think they're called the Ultimates, or I'll be corrected in the comments, so I'm not too super worried about it, but she's in their base. And what their program is trying to do is to stop all disasters before they happen. So she asks for a progress report, and nothing's going on, so she walks into this big like conference room, and there's a guy in there named Dr. Samson. I don't personally know who he is, but if you guys know, leave it in the comments. They have a quick chit-chat, because it almost seems like S.H.I.E.L.D. sent him there, because she kind of goes, you were sent here. There's no reason for you to really be here, and kind of be asking me how I am. So she gets a little suspicious about that, but she kind of gives a little background story on why she's trying to stop all disasters before they even happen. I mentioned in the first one a character named Ulysses who was an Inhuman. Well, you catch his little bit of a backstory in this one. He's at college, and this group of people notice this mist coming in. From what I read in this comic, the mist means that there's Inhumans there. The mist puts you in a cocoon, and then you come out in an Inhuman. So him and another girl named Michelle, if I'm not mistaken, get turned into cocoons. He comes out exactly the same. But maybe I shouldn't tell you this yet, because that's the very end of the comic, and I'll leave you on the cliffhanger that it leaves you on in this one. So I'll get back to that one. The only other person it shows is She-Hulk as She-Hulk, not her person. And she's showing up on one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s helicarriers. And a lieutenant comes up to her and asks her if she's okay. And She-Hulk goes, I've lost cases before. I to a certain degree, it's not a big deal. I just feel bad because he was definitely innocent. She goes, so the lieutenant goes, no, he's dead. So he went to jail again, this guy, this ex-convict. He was known as the Jester, and he would go and rob banks. Someone found out that he used to be like a supervillain, and they tried to look good in prison, and two guys killed him in prison. So you could see she was angry about that. And then it cuts back to Ulysses in the cocoon. There's media everywhere. He breaks out of his cocoon. He looks exactly the same. People start asking him if he's any different, blah blah blah. And then the other cocoon starts to break, and he has, it almost looks like he goes into like he gets a massive migraine. He grabs his head in pain, and he looks up, and that Michelle girl's coming out as like almost like a demon. So then he looks around, and he's like, did I do this? And he looks around, it's like a post-apocalyptic world. Now, if you remember when I was talking about his powers in the Free Comic Day book, he can see into the future. So he's seeing some type of future that could potentially happen. From what I've been reading, Miss Marvel is trying to prevent, obviously, catastrophes, and she's going to use Ulysses to do that. Iron Man feels like if it's gonna happen, you have to let it happen and try to avert it as it happens. And I think that's where they start fighting over what's going on. If I'm wrong, we'll find out soon, because Iron Man was not in this comic at all. But I assume he's going to be in number 1. So we'll see where the story goes. As a backstory, it was very well written. I would say it put all of the main characters for at least one side kind of in perspective of what they're going to be doing. Because on this cover, everyone but Iron Man is on the same side. So it should be interesting. Maybe number 1 is going to follow 2 or 3 main characters on Iron Man's side to kind of get a base story for them going, and then they mingle in the second one. I don't know. But overall, it was a very well written comic. I'm looking forward to number 1, and when number 1 comes out, I'll do another video for Civil War 2. I also know that they're like the first Civil War comics. There will be a bunch of miniseries, so I will also be doing talks on the miniseries also. So, on that note, I don't know what's going to happen in this comic, because everyone knows how the first Civil War went. So I'm very intrigued to see how this one goes. And I'm very intrigued if everyone who's watching this has heard that in the Free Comic Day book for Captain America, he revealed that he had been working for Hydra the whole time. So I'm intrigued to see if that comes into anything this whole series has anything to do with it. I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued to see if they even talk about it. But if they don't, it's fine. But on that note, as always, I am Nerd, and welcome to my kingdom.